What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to today's Raid Shadow Legends video, where I want to go over 5 or maybe 6 major tips to help you guys finish faction wars faster. Alright, so I am going to use my account as an example, but I'm also going to reference, let's say, other content creators, even the Reddit posts we've seen before. I also have a neat guide on my Discord, which the link is available in the description, so make sure you join. So let's get going. The first thing I'm going to cover, and also give a shout out to Hell Hades for this, is like team building. Okay, so he does have a video, he called it, I believe, the Ultimate Faction Wars Guide, where he goes over some of the champions you could use to build your teams. He does cover points like decreased defense, crowd control, healing, revive, damage, turn meter control, but you will see with some examples of my teams that you don't necessarily need to have a well-balanced team. In some cases, I, let's say, focus a lot more on healing and reviving than I do on the other things. And for other ones, for example, I'm going to focus a little bit more on turn meter control, right? Or I'm going to focus on more crowd control with stun sets, for example, like what my Dark Elves, okay? So I will have screenshots for you guys in a second, but before I get started, if you also want to see the teams that I used, you can go on my YouTube channel. There's a little search button right here. If you want to do faction wars in there, it's going to pull up all my faction wars videos, or even better, I made a playlist for you guys, which you can scroll to down at the bottom, and you're going to have all 13 of my faction wars in there. All right. So as for the teams, let's go over some of my teams that I used so far to complete all the faction wars. And again, you know, if you want to complete Lydia as quickly as possible, your initial team will be probably very different than, let's say, your final team. But if you're starting from scratch, you might also want to consider building teams that could potentially work on stage 21 auto down the road, because let's face it, you need 65 champions. That is a whole lot of champions for all of your faction war needs. And so here's sort of what it looks like on my account, okay, all the way down to pretty much down here, the Skullsworn. So that is all the champions that I need to have geared at all times. I didn't do that for faction wars. I only shuffled gear around as much as I could just to complete Lydia, and I'm now just getting around to gearing all 65 champions for this to work on auto. All right, so quickly at a glance, my teams and what I did for them. Here it's you know, I pulled this champion. This was available from the battle pass, fusion, farmable, and fusion. Okay, so for me it was accessible champions as much as possible. I ended up going with a relentless set on Killian the Lucky, relentless set on Lugan the Steadfast, and a lifesteal on my Horden. All right, I do have decreased defense, decreased attack, single target crowd control, heal, shields, and a good amount of damage from the Horden. Next team we can do is Barbarian's Crypt. I really like this one because it's all accessible champions. Free, fusion, farmable. All right, it's relatively easy, I'm not gonna lie, but on this one what I'm doing is I'm focusing a lot on getting Sile the Drakes and Kantra the Cyclone to just survive, and Sile the Drakes will revive the other champions. All right, I do have decreased defense and some damage dealing potential, but like he's not in lifesteal, she's not in lifesteal, so they die all the time, but like I'm counting, like I said, on the fact that I have a reviver. All right, on this one right here, this was kind of hard. I do have a lot of Dark Elves champions, but I went with stun set, stun set, stun set, stun set. I do have decreased defense, I have increased attack, I do have a revive now, so that kind of made it possible. I have somewhat heals right here, but the waves on stage 21 for this with the 3 Valkyries is really hard to do, but you can kind of see, you know, what I went for. Again, these are good champions, but you don't necessarily need this. Next one was the Demon Spawn Crypt, where I went with not exactly accessible champions, all right, but we do have good crowd control at Umbral Enchantress. This champion is built for Clan Boss. Soul Drinker I built a little bit last minute because I needed more damage. I didn't have enough, right? I tried to go with 2 Umbral Enchantress. It's good, it controls all the waves, but then it's useless on the boss. Allure is just amazing. A relentless Allure is awesome. Tanix is a free one. That's our healer in here. Also kind of like very speedy, if I'm not mistaken. Here is now my new auto stage 21 Dwarfs Crypt. This was a little bit harder to do at first because it was right before we got the nerf. Then as soon as I got the nerf, this team was now working on stage 21 on auto, not even manual. That's how good it was. Well, like here you sort of like, you need heals. You need shields and heals because the boss will one-shot your champions. So that is why I first got it to work with 2 rearguard sergeant. Really not happy about building 2 rearguard sergeant, but without a reviver, that seemed to be one of the only ways to get this to work. I even have more heals from the runic order. So here I kind of focused excessively on heals, just continuous heals and shields. Some pretty massive shields from the Mountain King. Here we're focusing for high elves entirely on speed and revive. That's it. That's all I'm really going for. Royal Guard, Jingle Hunter, even Reliquary Tender at level 50 will die constantly. No problem. I have an Arbor and Apothecary to bring us back up and then just keep healing, getting those turn meter increases, good to go. So this is a great example of me just focusing on a specific thing. A couple more examples of the high elves. Night Rev, we went with a heal, heal, heal. I kind of needed that, and then we have good crowd control from the Soulless. The Faceless was our main damage dealer. It ended up working for stage 20, but also for stage 21. This was manual, however. I still have yet to get this to work now on auto. As for the Lizardman Crypt, accessible, fusion. You got to pull this guy, but like he's not necessarily needed. Here we kind of focused on Skullsworn, Skull Lord combo. This guy dies all the time. He takes, you know, the aggro from the boss. He revives him. Good to go. That's it. As simple as that. I kind of really like this setup. Another example, stage 21 here. Orcs, full glass cannon. Full glass cannon. Literally like no heals, no revive. I do have nuking potential with the Seer, but I went with turn meter control, Relentless for Ultimate Gaelic, and 2 Hawk the Wanderer. That is the only thing that got this to work, and that is how I was able to control the boss. You're more than welcome to check out the video. The boss takes like 1 turn, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Here with the Skinwalker Crypt, we do have an overall, I'm going to say, balanced team. We have a revive, we have heal, we have turn meter reduction, we have block cooldown skills, but I had to switch up the gear a little bit, and that's the only way that it worked. Again, you got to understand also the boss, and I'll get back to that in a second. Skinwalkers, let's just do undead, and then we're going to move on to the next point. We have Harvest Jack, Roto, so fusion, and then these 3 you got to pull. I'm not going to lie, this is a very balanced team. It's the first Faction Wars that I ever completed, and it works pretty well on auto, right? Not too surprising with this setup. Okay, so I did talk about a little bit of the gear. That's my next point. Gear shuffling. That's what made all of this possible for me to complete it really fast towards the end. At first, that's an error that I did, I was trying to gear all 65 champions. I was thinking that I'm gonna have to build all of them, max level, fully ascended, all masteries, gear them all, and then get that to work. Although that might be somewhat true if you want to farm all stage 21s on auto, it is not true if you want to simply get to Lydia as quickly as possible. So some of the sets that really helped me out, Relentless. A fast Relentless set that I put on, let's say, Armiger, Allure, Killian, Doom Priest, Ultimate Gaelic. Or let's say a stun set that I put on Bellower, Senacia, Veteran, Ghostborn, so they all got that set. We also had somewhat of like a Speed Immortal set, Shatterbones, Rain Beast, Painkeeper, Tanix, they all got that as well. So you can kind of see what I did here. I did a full video on this. I called it Faction Wars Simplified. You're more than welcome to go check it out. It's also in that playlist. I covered this in detail. This made it possible. Again, if you're only trying to get to Lydia, shuffle gear around. Then you can worry about gearing all those champions. The next one is to understand the boss mechanics. Yeah, if you want to do that, you can go on my Discord channel. That is something I did not do. I walked in there blind, got to the boss, realized my team isn't working. Back to the drawing board, had to reshuffle gear around. So this is, you know, a new mistake on my end, but guys, there's now plenty of good information. This being a great example. Huge shout out to CWC Zeppelin. He goes over some of the boss mechanics. So you need to understand which faction wars are going to have which bosses. So he said blue symbol, this is going to be stage 21 boss for Bannerlords and Sacred Order. He lays it all out for you guys. You know what to do. All right, so go in there, join the Discord. When you join, you're going to be welcomed by this little message. Read it, please. Press the reaction button, and then that's going to unlock all the other channels. You're more than welcome to go check that out. The next one is that, again, something I did not do properly. We have a Reddit post for this. A user showed us that you can get away with a lot more rares and uncommons than legendaries, such as low budget build. I was going for a full build. That was my problem. Here's a great example. He got the Barbarian Crypt to work with a level 50 marked Alika, Sikara, and then 2 level 60s. Okay, he has plenty of examples on his Reddit post. You guys are more than welcome to go check it out, and huge shout out to him. Level 50 Harry Specs, Broadma, Jar Eggs. So guys, like, I went all in thinking that's the only way this was going to work, but we have great examples of players pulling it off without. Then the next one is, and I'm going to use my Dark Elves as, you know, a great example for this point, or for this tip, is that just keep trying. Just keep trying. If you focus on, let's say, RNG from the gear, such as stun sets, at some point it's going to line up. You're going to get full control of those waves, and that's exactly what happens in here. I'm super glass cannon. I can't always revive, but like I had to control those 3 Valkyries, and then it was all about these stun sets landing. I think I went well over 50 tries to get this to work. I even tried a bunch of different champions because I have probably like 6 more built for Dark Elves, or like fully ascended, right? It's level 60. And I just kept trying different combos, different synergies, whatever. But in the end, this faction for me was all about 4 stun sets. That's it. And yeah, I took apart a lot of my champions, fully geared these ones, but then it got to work. So just keep trying, and then retry again, because it is free to retry. You don't lose your keys. So like, why not? If you have the extra time, just do it. And finally, I'm going to have one more tip for you guys before I let you go. Something that I also did not do in the beginning, I kind of regret. I sort of built some champions thinking they're going to be used for something else. Not thinking, am I going to use them for faction wars, which I should have done from the beginning, because I was not necessarily going for, let's say, War Master and Evil Eye. Okay, so for example, here we have a Valerie. She does not have Evil Eye on this one, but then let's say my Krila Witch Arm, which technically should be built for clan boss. At some point she will, but then I found myself having to redo her masteries because I really needed Evil Eye and War Master for that faction wars. My orcs was all about turn meter control, right? So I needed Evil Eye and War Master. Maybe you can get away without doing the masteries on some of the champions. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying depending on your team and the synergies that you have between them, you might have to make up for what you lack with the masteries. But Evil Eye and War Master or Giant Slayer is very universal, because it's going to turn even your support champions that are there for just whatever, let's say a little bit of crowd control, into damage dealers as well. Okay, so guys, you know, pay attention to this in the beginning. If you are building from scratch, this is going to save you a lot of trouble, not to mention a lot of gems, to not have to redo masteries yet again, and then redo the masteries a second time when you want to re-gear this champion for whatever else you were using it. All right. So there you have it, guys. 5 major tips with a 6th one as a bonus on how to complete faction wars faster. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you later.